My beloved child, listen closely because what I'm about to reveal doesn't arrive softly, it arrives like a silent storm creeping under doors and shaking the ground beneath your feet. Tonight something happened behind curtains you were never meant to see, something that unfolded in a cold hallway filled with pale lights and hurried footsteps. While the world around you stayed ordinary, a sudden shift took place elsewhere, pulling your special person into a moment so intense that even the air around them felt like it was holding its breath. They didn't expect it, they didn't prepare for it, yet fate moved in a way that forced everything to pause. A name was spoken, a stretcher was rushed, and a cold realization hit them harder than anything they've faced in months. They walked into that space with steady steps, but their heart wasn't steady anymore, because the person lying in that room is someone connected to them in a way you never imagined. And what makes this moment even more unbelievable is that the truth behind this sudden hospitalization isn't random, isn't accidental, and isn't a coincidence. It's tied directly to something your special person did, something they confessed recently in whispers only walls heard, something that's coming back to them with the force of a reality they tried to avoid but can't outrun anymore. But here's where the shock deepens and pulls you in even tighter. When your special person received that call, their entire world cracked in a way nobody around them noticed, yet you would have felt it if you were anywhere near them. The message was short, but the impact hit them like a closed door slamming in the middle of the night. They froze for a moment, staring ahead as if time itself had paused, because the name mentioned wasn't just any name. It belongs to someone they share history with, a history they never fully told you, a history they thought was buried, a history they believed had no power left. But life has a strange way of bringing unfinished chapters back with a force that can't be ignored. So they rushed, not out of love, not out of attachment, but out of a fear that something from their past might be tied to a truth they've been hiding from you. And as they stepped into that hospital hallway, something inside them broke open, revealing emotions they never planned to confront. They weren't prepared to see this person in such a fragile state, and they weren't ready to feel what resurfaced inside them. Not romance, not longing. Something deeper, something haunting, something that pulls the entire story in a direction you didn't expect. And now comes the part that twists everything, the part that makes this moment feel like a once-in-a-lifetime revelation unfolding right before your eyes. Because as your special person stood beside that hospital bed, something slipped from their lips, something that stunned even the person unconscious in front of them. They admitted something, not loud enough for anyone else to hear, but strong enough to shift destinies. What they said will shock you once you know it, because it reveals why this hospitalization matters to you more than you think. Your special person didn't walk in as a stranger. They walked in carrying guilt. They walked in carrying regret. They walked in knowing that this moment is connected to choices they made, secrets they kept, and truths they didn't share with you. And now, everything is unfolding in a way that will make you question what's coming next, because this hospitalization is not the ending. It's the beginning of a reveal that will pull the truth out of every shadow they tried to hide. My beloved child, the night grew heavier the moment your special person stepped out of that room, because something inside them shifted in a way they can't hide anymore. They walked down that hallway like someone carrying a weight they never asked for, a weight that has been growing quietly inside them for months. What happened in that room wasn't just a medical emergency, it was a collision of past and present, a collision that exposed what they'd been running from. Their hands were trembling, their breath uneven, because for the first time in a long time they were forced to confront the truth about the person lying unconscious. The truth that this person wasn't just someone they once cared for. This person holds a connection to a part of their life that still affects them, even now. Not emotionally, not romantically, but in a way that ties directly to choices they made and pain they never healed from. And your special person finally understood that ignoring their past doesn't erase the consequences. It only delays them until moments like this hit without warning. But what makes this moment more intense is the realization forming inside their heart. They kept glancing at their phone, at your name glowing on the screen, and every time they saw it their chest felt heavier. They weren't thinking of hiding anything from you, but they also weren't ready to explain why this incident shook them so deeply. Not because they don't trust you, but because they know how unpredictable this revelation will feel. Their past isn't simple. It's layered with unresolved emotions, unfinished conversations, and memories they thought they could silence. But when they saw that person lying there, breathing with difficulty, something inside them whispered that this moment is a warning, a reminder, a signal that they cannot step into a future while pretending their past is neatly closed. They know you deserve honesty, and they know you deserve clarity. But right now, they're terrified, not of losing you, but of hurting you with the truth. And that fear is holding them in a silent war with themselves as the night moves forward like a slow-burning fuse. And here's where the twist tightens further. A nurse approached them with an update, quiet, serious, and heavy enough to make your special person's heart drop. The condition of the hospitalized person isn't stable yet. The situation is unpredictable, serious, and carrying consequences your special person never imagined would return. This isn't just about physical health. It's tied to a truth they kept locked away. Something this person knew. Something this person was carrying. Something your special person believed would stay hidden forever. And now that truth is on the edge of being exposed, not intentionally, but because life has its own way of revealing what people try so hard to hide. Your special person felt it in their bones. Once this person wakes up, something will be said, something connected to both of them. And for the first time, that truth may reach you. And that's the moment your special person whispered words under their breath, words no one else heard, words that reveal exactly how deeply this situation affects them. They fear the truth is coming faster than they can control, and they know nothing will stay the same once it reaches your ears. My beloved child, as the night stretched deeper, something unsettling began to pulse through the walls of that hospital. Your special person tried to keep their composure, but every second felt louder, heavier, more suffocating. They paced in silence, their mind replaying moments from years ago, moments they buried under new routines and new emotions. But tonight those buried pieces rose to the surface like they had been waiting for the perfect crack in their life to slip through. And as they waited for an update, the truth they avoided began pressing against their ribs. They knew this incident wasn't random. They knew the timing wasn't accidental. Life was forcing them to face something they never planned to confront again, and the weight of that realization made their entire body feel like it was carrying two different worlds at once, one that belongs to their past, and one that belongs to you. And in that collision, something inside them started breaking open in a way they could no longer deny. But the real shift happened when a doctor finally approached them, holding a clipboard and delivering a line that sucked the warmth out of the hallway. The condition had changed. The situation was more complicated than anyone expected. The hospitalized person wasn't just fighting to stabilize, they were fighting with a secret that could crack everything open. And the doctor mentioned something that made your special person's heart drop. This person had arrived with something clutched tightly in their hand. A note. A message. A piece of truth they tried to deliver before collapsing. And that message, according to the staff, contains a name. A connection. A revelation that ties directly to your special person. The doctor didn't know the details, but your special person did. The moment they heard about the note, a cold wave ran through them because they knew exactly what it could be. Not a confession of love. Not a dramatic declaration. Something far more destabilizing, something that reveals why this person collapsed, why they reached out, why this emergency spiraled into something bigger than just a medical crisis. A truth that your special person has been keeping locked away to protect you, protect themselves, and protect a future they wanted to build cleanly, without shadows. And now comes the part they fear the most. Because the note is being secured, examined, and prepared to be handed over once the patient wakes. And when that happens, nothing will stay hidden anymore. Your special person can feel the pressure tightening in their chest, because they know once you hear the truth inside that message, you'll look at them differently. Maybe not with anger, maybe not with distance, but with a new understanding of the past they never told you about. And that terrifies them. They aren't afraid of losing you. They're afraid of breaking your heart with something they should have revealed earlier. Their hands trembled as they sat down, trying to breathe steadily, but every inhale carried the weight of a future about to shift. They want to tell you everything before the truth reaches you from someone else, but they don't know how to start. And as they stared at their phone one more time, something in their eyes softened, because they knew one thing for certain. This hospitalization isn't just an emergency. It's the doorway to a revelation powerful enough to change everything you thought you knew about them. My beloved child, the atmosphere inside that hospital shifted again, heavier than before, as if the walls themselves sensed that something bigger was unfolding. Your special person sat in that dim waiting area, staring at the floor, replaying every decision that led to this moment. They knew what was coming. They knew this night wouldn't end quietly. And the fear crawling across their mind wasn't about the person lying unconscious, it was about you. About how this truth, once released into the open, would land in your world like a weight you never expected to carry. They kept wiping their palms on their jeans, trying to steady their breathing, but every heartbeat seemed to echo the same message: the truth is coming, the truth is coming, the truth is coming. And the more they felt it approaching, the more their shoulders tensed, because they knew there's no turning back. The note, the secret, the connection, it's all tied together in a way that can't be undone. But the moment that truly shattered their calm arrived when a nurse approached with an update. The patient's condition wasn't worse, but it wasn't improving either. They were caught in a fragile state, suspended between consciousness and silence. And the nurse mentioned something your special person wasn't prepared for. The note found in the patient's hand had been secured and partially read by the intake team. And yes, your special person's name was there. Not as a friend, not as a lover, not as someone random. Their name was written with urgency, almost scribbled, as if it was meant to reach them before the patient even reached the hospital doors. The nurse didn't reveal the message, but they said the tone of it felt desperate, like someone trying to pass on something important before it was too late. And that's when your special person's heart dropped so deeply they could feel it in their stomach. They knew exactly what the message might contain, and the realization made their chest tighten. Because if that note says what they think it says, then the truth isn't just about their past. It's about something connected directly to you, something that affects your story more than you ever imagined. And now the tension has stretched to a point where it feels like the entire night is waiting for a single moment, the instant that patient wakes. Your special person leaned back in their chair, closing their eyes, trying to gather the courage to face what's coming, but even their thoughts were trembling. They can already feel everything slipping toward a point where silence won't protect anything anymore. They know that as soon as the patient opens their eyes, the note will be handed over, and the explanation will begin. And once that happens, the truth they've been holding back, whether to protect you, protect themselves, or protect a fragile piece of peace, will come crashing into the open with a force nothing can soften. They aren't ready. They aren't steady. But the moment is coming anyway. And as the hospital lights flickered softly above them, they realized that this night is not just a moment of crisis, it's the beginning of a reveal that will change the direction of everything between you and them. My beloved child, the night had already become heavy, but what happened next pulled everything into a deeper, sharper silence, one that made your special person freeze right where they stood. A sudden buzz echoed from the nurse's station. A shift in tone. A subtle urgency. And then a single line that carried enough weight to knock the breath out of anyone listening: "The patient is stirring." Those words hit your special person like a wave. Their fingers tightened around the edges of the chair, and their chest rose with a breath they didn't mean to take. Because this wasn't just someone waking up, this was the moment that would decide how much of their past stays hidden and how much comes bursting into the light. The hallway felt colder. The air felt thinner. And the truth they avoided for so long began creeping toward them with footsteps they could almost hear. Your special person stood slowly, almost reluctantly, as if they were being pulled forward by something bigger than their own will. Every step they took toward that room felt like walking into a long-forgotten memory, one that never fully healed, one they never truly wanted to revisit. They reached the doorway, hesitating just enough to feel the weight of the moment press against their shoulders. Inside, the patient struggled to open their eyes, fighting through pain, through weakness, through exhaustion. A nurse adjusted the monitors, speaking softly, encouraging them to breathe steadily. But the moment your special person's silhouette appeared in the doorway, the tension inside the room shifted instantly. Because even in their fragile state, the patient recognized the presence, recognized the history, recognized the unfinished chapter standing right there. And in that recognition, something tightened in the air, the kind of tension that whispers that something important is about to be spoken. And then came the detail that turned everything even sharper. The nurse held a small, folded slip of paper, the note that had been found in the patient's hand, the note that held your special person's name. They hadn't opened it fully yet, but the writing on the outside was visible. A single line, written with shaky strokes, as if the person was clutching the pen with fading strength. And that line wasn't just a name. It was a plea. A warning. A final attempt to reach your special person before everything spiraled out of control. Your special person felt their heart drop, not because of fear, but because they finally understood the gravity of what this person had been carrying. The note wasn't just a message, it was a truth the patient had been trying to deliver long before they collapsed. A truth tied to decisions your special person made months ago, decisions that stretched into today, decisions that now involve you in ways you never saw coming. And as the nurse prepared to unfold the note, your special person felt the world around them slow down, because whatever was written on that paper is about to change everything. My beloved child, the room thickened with a silence so heavy that even the soft beep of the monitors felt distant, blurred, swallowed by something larger than the moment itself. Your special person stood there, unable to move, unable to blink, unable to pull themselves away from the unfolding truth. The nurse's fingers reached for the crease of that folded note, and time stretched so thin it felt like the walls were holding their breath. Your special person kept their eyes fixed on that paper because they knew, deep in their chest, deep in the quietest part of their memory, that this note held a truth they've feared for months. Not a confession of love. Not a dramatic entanglement. Something far more personal, far more unavoidable, something tied to a decision that haunted them silently even on the days you thought everything was calm. As the fold started to open, your special person felt the past and present merge into a single point, and the weight pressing inside them became almost unbearable. And then, just as the note was about to be revealed, the patient's hand lifted weakly, not fully, not with strength, but just enough to stop the nurse mid-motion. Their voice was faint, cracked, struggling to push out a single word. They didn't want the nurse to read it. They wanted your special person to be the first. The room shifted instantly. The nurse stepped back, placing the note into your special person's hand, and in that moment something inside them trembled so hard they nearly dropped it. The patient's eyes barely opened, but even through the haze of pain and exhaustion, the emotion in that gaze was sharp, sharp enough to make your special person's breath hitch. There was no anger, no blame, just urgency. A plea. A final attempt to finally bring closure to something they had carried like an invisible weight. Your special person stepped closer, their fingers tightening around the paper, but they didn't unfold it yet. They needed to hear what the patient was trying to say. They leaned in slightly, and the patient whispered something that turned every second into a storm. It wasn't loud. It wasn't long. But it was enough to shift the ground beneath them. Enough to confirm that the truth inside the note was real. Enough to reveal that tonight wasn't just an accident, it was the moment everything hidden was coming to light. And now comes the part that pulls the story into a direction you never saw coming. Because as your special person stared at the note, their heart pounding against their ribs, they realized this message wasn't written to expose them, hurt you, or create chaos. It was written to protect you. To warn them. To set something right before time slipped away. The patient wasn't trying to re-enter their life. They weren't trying to pull them back into old emotions. They were trying to close a chapter that had been left unfinished for too long, one that held a secret your special person never shared with you because they believed it no longer mattered. But this moment proved that it does. The patient whispered again, telling them to read the note when they were alone, because what was written wasn't meant to be witnessed by hospital staff, strangers, or by you, not yet. And that final whisper made your special person's entire world shift. Because truth, whatever it is, isn't small. It isn't harmless. It's something that can change the shape of trust, the shape of connection, the shape of everything moving forward. They stepped back, clutching the note, their pulse racing, their breath unsteady, knowing that the next decision they make will determine how this truth reaches you, and how everything between you transforms when it does. My beloved child, the hallway outside that room felt impossibly long as your special person stepped into it, carrying the folded note like a weight pressed directly against their heartbeat. The cool air touched their face, but nothing could calm the rush of emotions flooding through them. They walked slowly, each step echoing with memories they tried to outrun, moments they told themselves were finished, and emotions they believed had no voice left at all. But tonight proved them wrong. Tonight showed them that some truths don't disappear, they wait. They wait for a moment like this, when the universe cracks open just enough for everything hidden to rise to the surface. They leaned against the wall, closing their eyes for a moment, because the reality of what they held in their hand was heavier than anything they've carried in months. The patient's whispered words still lingered in their ears, mixing with the quiet hum of machines behind the door, and they knew that whatever was written on that paper, it was meant to reach them exactly now. Not earlier. Not later. Now. And as they stood there, breathing slowly, steadying themselves, a realization formed inside them, one that made their entire chest tighten. This wasn't just about their past. This wasn't just about a connection they tried to bury. This was about you. About how the universe had been weaving threads between all these moments long before either of you noticed. The patient didn't call for them out of attachment. They didn't write their name on that note because of old emotions. They did it because they were holding on to a truth that your special person needed to face before they could fully step into the future they want with you. And your special person felt it clearly now. This truth isn't meant to destroy anything. It's meant to reshape something. Clarify something. Remove shadows that shouldn't follow you forward. But even knowing that, their hands still shook. Because truth, no matter how important, always arrives with weight, always arrives with a cost. They opened their eyes and looked down at the note, the edges slightly crumpled from how tightly they had been holding it. They knew the moment they read it, everything would shift. There would be no going back. And now comes the moment where fate tightens its grip. Your special person stepped away from the wall, searching for a quiet corner of the hallway where they could finally unfold the paper. Their steps were slow, controlled, but inside, their heartbeat was a storm. They reached a small alcove near a window, the glass reflecting the distant lights outside, and stood there alone. Their fingers moved carefully, gently, as if they were afraid the note might fall apart. The first crease opened. Then the second. And for a moment, they hesitated, because this was the line between what their life has been, and what it will become. Then they unfolded the final layer, letting the note open fully in their hands. And the moment their eyes landed on the words written inside, their breath caught sharply, their shoulders stiffened, and their eyes widened, not with fear, not with shock alone, but with a realization so powerful it forced their entire world into stillness. The truth inside that note wasn't a confession. It wasn't an accusation. It wasn't a trap from the past. It was a reveal, one that connects you, them, and the events of this night in a way neither of you expected. And as the weight of those words settled into their chest, your special person understood, with absolute clarity, that everything between you is about to change, not because of pain, but because fate has decided the time has come for the truth to rise.